This is Matthew Kratter's Bitcoin University. Today I want to answer the question, is Bill Gates right about Bitcoin? A number of people have sent me these headlines. This is from Simply Bitcoin. Bill Gates claims Bitcoin has no use cases. Bill Gates' withering assessment on wildly popular investment. People with high IQs have fooled themselves, but it wasn't always this way. Early on, Bill Gates appears to have had only admiration for Bitcoin. In 2014, in front of Munger and Warren Buffett, he defended Bitcoin when Bitcoin was trading at $400 as a technological or techno tour de force. In 2014, he said Bitcoin is better than currency. Bitcoin is exciting, he says, because it shows how cheap it can be. Bitcoin is better than currency in that you don't have to be physically in the same place. And of course, for large transactions, currency can get pretty inconvenient. Also, in an interview in 2015, where they were talking about the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and some of the projects it was funding, especially in the mobile banking space, like Bcash in Bangladesh and M-Pesa in Kenya, the talk turned to Bitcoin. The interviewer asked Bill Gates, "Are you excited about the potential of Bitcoin and systems like these as a way to keep fees low and have the system work robustly in the global sense?" This is clearly the solution that the Gates Foundation should have been pushing for people in Bangladesh and elsewhere. Bill Gates' reply, "There's a lot that Bitcoin or Ripple," surprising to see that, "and variants can do to make moving money between countries easier and getting fees down pretty dramatically, but Bitcoin won't be the dominant system." And why won't it be the dominant system? It won't be the dominant system because you cannot reverse transactions on Bitcoin, which is a pretty silly critique. Bitcoin is very similar to FedWire in that way. It's very difficult to reverse transactions. But by 2018, Gates's tune had completely changed. Something appears to have changed now that Bitcoin was proving itself to be so successful. In this article from May 7th, 2018, Gates said, "I would short it if there is an easy way to do it." This was strange, though, because by May of 2018, there was an easy way to do it. Bitcoin futures had been introduced in December of 2017, so it was a very easy time to short it. Bill Gates must have been bluffing. It was probably a good thing he did because he was completely wrong about this. He made this call when Bitcoin was trading at $9,000 per coin. If you're enjoying this video so far, I just ask you to help to support this channel's mission by subscribing, hit the like button, leave a comment, question, suggestion for a future video, and share this video with a friend or family member. So when Gates said that he wanted to short it if there was an easy way to do it, he said that he had a negative forecast for Bitcoin because he said that the digital tokens that Bitcoin lacked intrinsic value. He said, as an asset class, you're not producing anything, and so you shouldn't expect it to go up. Here he's really echoing Buffett, who explained in a similar interview, this greater fool theory type of investment. You're just hoping the next guy pays more. And this is the really strange thing, Warren Buffett saying that stocks, bonds, real estate have intrinsic value. I'm not sure they really do have intrinsic value. Can you look inside of them and find the value? This is one of those terms in value investing. Everyone has their own intrinsic value for a given stock. And it's also not true that an investment needs to have intrinsic value, whatever that is. Buffett has never defined it. It's not true that an investment needs to have intrinsic value to do really well. What's the intrinsic value of gold? Well, it does have some industrial uses, which account for about 10% of its demand. But the other 90% of its demand, the demand for gold, really is just for it as money. So gold trades at this huge monetary premium to its underlying industrial value. This is something that doesn't produce anything. It doesn't produce cash flows or dividends or interest income. You can't live inside of gold, and yet it seems to be doing fairly well. So it'd be nice to see how Bill Gates and Warren Buffett would account for assets like this, monetary assets, in their view of the world. Of course, the real reason Gates and Buffett hate gold and hate Bitcoin is because they're what you might call fiat money maximalists. They love the big banks. They love regulatory capture. They love ultra-processed garbage food. This has always been a major component of Buffett's portfolio from the days of Coke all the way through Kraft. They love garbage food and its regulatory capture in the U.S. They also love Big Pharma, another part of Buffett's portfolio over the years. They love Big Pharma and its regulatory capture. You can see the pattern here, and this is because Gates and Buffett really are disgusting rent seekers behind the facade of this grandfatherly old man who's like Santa Claus and is so benevolent and everything. Gates and Buffett are both disgusting rent seekers who seek to profit from regulatory capture, etc. Then there's also this irony that Bill Gates is one of the richest men in the world, and he goes around lecturing everyone else about their health, especially the last 4 years, while he looks absolutely terrible. If you look like this, you probably shouldn't be lecturing other people about what to eat. Of course, he has his processed food, his fake meat companies to sell, and he owns all this farmland where he's raising soybeans, etc., that he wants you to consume instead of consuming healthier things like meat. Buffett, of course, as a fiat maximalist, benefited massively from the bank bailouts in 2009 and 2010. As Charles Pillar of the Sacramento Bee reported, he, at the time, Buffett's Berkshire Hathaway owned more than $13 billion of stock in the top recipients of TARP funds, including Goldman Sachs, U.S. Bank, American Express, and Bank of America. So this is, behind that grandfatherly smile, here's the guy who's been benefiting from money printing and taxpayer bailouts. I go into this explanation a little bit more in this video, which I'll link to in the description notes below. Warren Buffett, the vampire from Omaha. I thought that Daniel Batten had an excellent tweet here. This is an open letter to Bill Gates, responding basically to Gates's recent criticism of Bitcoin. So I'm going to read part of this. Dear Bill, it is a free world, so I celebrate the fact that you have the freedom to express your opinion that Bitcoin is useless. Equally, as a person of influence, you have the duty of care to make sure that your opinion is an informed one. Your comment, Bitcoin is useless, demonstrates that either you are uninformed or B, you do not care for vast swaths of human life. Considering your well-documented philanthropic efforts, I will assume it is the former, not the latter. Based on the way Gates has behaved over the past few years, I would suggest it's actually letter B, but I think Daniel Batten here is being fairly charitable. And Daniel goes on to explain why Bitcoin is not useless. Number one, fast-tracking the delivery of renewable energy to millions of Ethiopians, getting aid to thousands of war refugees, developing energy independence for Bhutan, saving national parks in Africa from closure, helping Afghanistani women avoid state-level financial discrimination, establishing the economic sovereignty of 14 African nations, and the potential to provide banking for up to $2 billion unbanked, which is something that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation was, at least theoretically, working on. So this is one approach to Bill Gates. You can do an open letter like this, and I'll put a link to this because it does have many very interesting links in it. Here was my own answer to Bill Gates. I can't understand why Bill Gates doesn't like Bitcoin. Bitcoin is still under 18 and you can take it to a remote island and do anything you want with it. This tweet was very popular, getting over 374,000 views. It's of course alluding to Bill Gates and this guy that he apparently spent quite a bit of time with for some reason. Maybe this guy was really into software or something. I think this is probably the best way to deal with never coiners and regime apologists like Buffett and Gates. Make fun of them, ignore them, mock them. Don't try to explain things to them because Bill Gates is not ignorant about Bitcoin. We've already established that he understood Bitcoin well and admired it in 2013 to 2015, maybe even up to 2018. So Bill Gates is not ignorant about Bitcoin. He's just a plain evil person, in my opinion. Now, you may not believe the stories about Bill Gates and Jeffrey Epstein, but Bill Gates' ex-wife apparently believed them enough to divorce him. Bill Gates met with Jeffrey Epstein many times, and he started the relationship after Epstein had already been convicted of sex crimes. Another way that you can know there's probably something wrong with Bill Gates's head is his plan to try to block out the sun and reverse global warming. This is not something that he has the right to do without getting the permission of 8 billion people. He has a startup that's trying to spray dust into the atmosphere. This is a very dangerous and evil man, and that's probably why he doesn't like Bitcoin. The irony, Bitcoin is now a $2 trillion asset, and Satoshi Nakamoto is now wealthier than Bill Gates. And also, ironically, if Bill Gates hadn't listened to Buffett and diversified, rather than diversified, but diversified his portfolio away from Microsoft, he'd be a trillionaire today. But that's what you get for listening to your good friend, the orifice of Omaha, as I like to call him. I don't think history will look kindly on either man. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett and the recently deceased Charlie Munger missed out on the Bitcoin revolution. Imagine being the greatest investor of all time, the quote-unquote greatest technologist of all time, and not only missing out, but actively fighting against Bitcoin, the most important investment the highest returning investment and the most important technology of our lifetimes. Bill Gates and Warren Buffett will mainly be remembered for attacking Bitcoin and being wrong. Bitcoin is rat poison, but not in the way that Buffett and Munger meant it. Bitcoin is rat poison to the scummy elites like Gates and Buffett, and it is doing its best to change the system so in the future we don't have people like that lording themselves over us. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Hit the notification bell if you want to be notified when I publish my next video. And let me know your questions and comments in the comment section below. Thanks a lot for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.